So obviously, gaming laptops can give you incredible flexibility. And but everybody wants to have a battle station, right? Like it's 2024. Most people want the full-on battle station setup. They're not just gaming in a cafe all day. It's nice to have the option. But today we're going to talk about how to take your laptop and turn it into a battle station with the best gear. And all of it's made by ROG, of course. Of course. So, Lane, let's talk about some situations where you may prefer to own a laptop over a desktop. Who would be that user?
Students, you're on the move all the time. You need to take the computer to class. Hopefully not have a super loud keyboard when you're taking notes in class. Professionals, if you're working in an open office and you're like transferring from cubicle to cubicle or meeting room to meeting room, your main computer is not a desktop. You're moving it with you. My use case that I had to do it a couple times last year was dog sitting. So when you have to dog sit for multiple days, you can't take your desktop to your relative's house. You just got to take your laptop.
But you look like kind of a...
Like you're moving into their house at that point. You're not house sitting.
Yeah. Very good point. So all those situations, and even if you're just travel a lot for work, you may prefer to invest your money in a really good laptop rather than having a really good laptop and a desktop, right? If you're just flying frequently, I know I've been there before. Actually, when I first got sponsored by Asus back in 2015, back before I worked for the company, I reached out. I was like, I need a laptop so that, because I'm traveling too much for esports events, I need a laptop so I can make content on the go. And we didn't have the same kind of lineup we do today. Those laptops were beefy. Nowadays, there's just so many options. Frankly, you can pick pretty much any laptop that we make and turn it into a battle station. So Lane, if you were to do that, what would you do? What would you choose as a laptop?
My opinion on this has changed greatly since I've started this job. It would have been Scar 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And they're still amazing machines, but the Flow X13 is like my chef's kiss.
The
Mixed
X13
of power when you need it and you're mobile, but it's light. I love it. I love it to death. Traveling with that thing is a dream because then when you get to where you need to be, you've got all the power that you possibly need. And with USB-C, you don't need a ton of I/O.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. USB-C can have, I think every single device we make has the display port out through USB-C. So
at least
one.
Yeah.
Huge. So even though this is
power delivery and USB-C out or display port out via USB-C.
Right. So even though it's a 13-inch display, even though it's got limited I/O ports, there is still that one I/O port that's going to give you DisplayPort out with the Flow X13. I'm intrigued that you chose that. I think I probably would go Scar just because I'm always going to be streaming and content creating. I think that Scar is just going to offer me the most power, the most I/O ports. I tend to hook in multiple cameras, multiple USB devices. You can use a hub. I'd prefer to not have the additional piece of gear when the Scar is sufficient for the amount of I/O ports that I need. But I'll be honest with you, I think my opinion changes every few weeks, because especially after using the M16 last year, that device won me over so hard. I'm not a fan of 13-inch displays myself. I'd rather have the larger device for a 16-inch display. To me, that's the sweet spot. 18-inch displays, those laptops tend to feel a little bit more, cumbersome just for travel. Bringing that on a plane, it's actually almost too large to use on a plane.
It's definitely too large to use on a plane. I was going to say it's actually too large to sometimes fit in a backpack comfortably.
Yeah, there's that, but then there's just the actual physically using it on a domestic flight. It's too big for the table. This display is too big. So I've actually learned that 16 feels much better to me. I do see the appeal of 13 for a flight only companion, but once I'm actually in Taiwan, when we spend 10 days, 2 weeks there, looking at that 13-inch display kills me. I'm like, it's too small. I want something bigger. So, but the great thing about all of these devices is the fact that You're not going to be bound to that display all the time. When you go home, you can, of course, connect it to a panel. And Lane, what panel is your panel of choice?
So my current dream, love of my life, ride or die, is the PG35 EQ. Um,
Okay.
if my house caught on fire, I had to replace it. I have no plans of doing that anytime soon. But if I did, it would be the PG34 WCDM, which
This
is
guy.
one of the OLED. Or sorry, is this one an
It's
OLED? I
OLED.
don't know.
Yep.
It's OLED. Um, I love this form factor. 30, 34, 35 inches is perfect for the desk that I have. It's perfect for having two full-size browser windows open at any given time. I can't give that up.
Yeah.
With a 27-inch, you would be giving it up. You would have to either make it incredibly narrow or just do one. And
Mhm.
for me, that's not a thing. So I would definitely go 34-inch, 100%.
I think for my setup, especially since I'm choosing a larger initial display with the SCAR 18, right? So that's monitor
Right.
one, right? That you already have two displays if you're using a device like this. So I'd put basically my SCAR on the desk, and then next to that, I would choose a 27-inch display. And I'm currently using the PG27AQN. I'm in love with this display because it's 1440p with 360 hertz. So this is a little bit more of an esports display. We do have panels that go with a higher refresh rate than this. I think 360 is plenty, especially since I do prefer gaming in 1440p on a 27-inch panel. I'm less picky about that on a native on a smaller display, 24 inches. That's when I'd care less about 1440p. Anything below that, but yeah, I think that you've got two panels like that. I'm used to using two panels on my normal desktop setup, anyways. It would really fit my workflow beautifully.
Yeah, totally. No, with the larger panel on the laptop, I could see
Mm.
that.
You're also just a bigger fan of ultra wides normally, so it makes sense you would choose that.
Yeah. It changed everything when I discovered the ultra wide world. I think I was on a 24 before I went to this panel. I just went 0 to 60.
That's so you've have very little experience or no experience with 27 and 32.
Yeah, none. I haven't actually. I mean, I've seen a 27-inch, and I don't know
Huh.
that I've ever actually seen a 32 in person.
Interesting. I'm kind of surprised to hear that. Um, it's going to be weird for me to go back to a 32 because it's going to happen this year. I think I'll end up swapping my panel for a 32 inch, and there's always this period of adjustment of getting used to the larger display. Even though it doesn't seem like that big of a change, it really is. It's a change. It's a change. But 32 is what Woodson likes. If he was here, I'm sure he'd be telling us a 32-inch display.
Yeah.
And I really like 32 or 27, but 27 has been my go-to for a while now. So, all right. Well, obviously that gives us our laptop and then gives us our panel, but that's not a full setup. You need a mouse and keyboard if you're going to be, setting your laptop on the desk, hooking all these things up to it. So, what would you pick for on that front?
The Keras 2 Ace because it's the new shiny, and that's how I usually go. Um, it's also got the Omni receiver, so
That
you
is
don't
nice.
need multiple dongles when you have multiple wireless things. So in that same vein, the keyboard that I'm currently using that I love, that I sing praises to the mountaintops, is the 96 wireless, the Scope 2 96 wireless, which has the Omni receiver, which can plug in with just one USB connection. I use it wired because I'm a heathen, but
You don't want to
I love
charge it once a week or whatever it is. Probably less than that.
it's less than that, yeah. Even with like the RGB on. So, um, yeah, no, the I have a full size desk pad and a large desk, but going 96, I got so much extra mousing room without having to do anything on the left side of my desk. Uh, I think a 96 form factor needs to be more common in the keyboard space. I'm surprised how uncommon it is. And
I agree.
if you're trying to fit a laptop into this is in a desktop setup, but if you're trying to fit a laptop onto your desk and make the most out of it, I'm still going to vouch for the 96 because you're still going to get all the functionality that you wouldn't normally have on a laptop keyboard, your numpad, your function key. I
Yeah.
mean, you have function keys, but
I'm a weird savage that uses the right control. So when I was using that keyboard, the 96, I
it's in completely the wrong spot for the right
I
control.
know, and it really screwed me up. And I swapped back to the Flare 2 Animate before I could ever get fully adapted to it. Most people don't use that control, I feel. So I feel like the average user doesn't care. But I'm weird. I play a lot of MMOs. My hands dance on all. I use like every key on the keyboard pretty much. My hands dance everywhere. My function keys probably get more use than like 99% of PC users. Like
Yeah,
I'm
I
weird.
believe that. I believe
But
that. What would you do?
So yeah, I mean, I think in terms of devices, I would probably just stick with what I know, right? There's no reason to replace your existing mouse and keyboard if this is what you're looking to do. So the Gladius 3 has been I use a Gladius 2 and then a Gladius 3. So for about 5 years now, I've been using Gladius as my mouse of choice, and I don't want to change. I'd like the next Gladius that uses the Omni receiver. That sounds good.
There you go.
But I think beyond that, I have no reason to consider anything else. And then I use the Flare to animate, which I believe if I just pull it up here, yeah, you can see there's my Gladius, there's my Flare to animate. That's my setup. That's my go-to. Flare to animate is a little bit larger, so there is definitely merit to using something more compact. Right. And we've got ample options for that. So traveling, I would not bring the Flare to animate. I'm that savage that brought a mechanical keyboard to school. When I lived in New York City, I walked to school with I had blue switches. I was such a jerk. Young Jake was like in like a design school with all Apple PCs, those tiny paper thin keyboards. And I'm sitting there clacking away, coding and doing stuff in art school.
You have a couple voodoo dolls in somebody's closet.
Oh yeah, I got stink eye, but I just did not care. Put on my big gaming headphones, my big keyboard, just did my thing. Hey, live your best life, right? I don't want to submit to.
It's your battle station. It's not mine.
Exactly. So yeah, I think I'd stick with that. But I think the other things we can talk about here is just kind of like other accessories beyond that. You obviously need a mouse and keyboard to create a battle station, but I think another component that I'd want, and I wish I had it in here. I use my laptops. Sometimes I just want to be in my living room. I have this dark cave with no windows, which is wonderful. But sometimes I'd like to get sunlight, and I'll just bring a laptop upstairs. And I have like a steel riser. It's a solid frame to elevate my laptop, make it a little bit more ergonomic, bring it up to more of a monitor height, and then use a mouse and keyboard with it. That's a must for me. Do you have something similar to that?
Back in the olden days when I had a Mac laptop, it needed a ventilated riser just to actually function properly.
Jeez.
But I found that angle where it's just like an inch off the table in the front and like 3 inches off the table in the back is like really good for ergonomics. So I would absolutely do one of those again, even if it's not powered and ventilated.
And I can actually talk for Whitson here, just because I never considered buying a riser until we went to Taiwan, and he pulled out this one that collapses. It's just like it folds up, and
it looks like a tent. It like turns into nothing when it's
pretty cool.
around.
It's pretty cool. So that's what he uses, at least when he travels. And yeah, I mean, he again favors the smaller displays. He's been a fan of the G14 forever. That's always been like his laptop of choice. So having that elevated display makes a big difference, I feel, for using these as a battle station.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot to be said there. And then if you're ever somewhere and you care about anybody around you, a good pair of headphones is key. I'm a headphone user even when I'm the only person in the house, because I kind of prefer just keeping the noise a little bit lower if I don't want like the subwoofer to bother the animals.
I sabotaged the whole stream like a jerk.
You did. I mean, it's a great commercial. We can watch it again.
My bad, stream. But yes, it's
these Delta S Animates have been amazing. They're super duper comfortable, and the sound quality is awesome. I have them on about 10% at any given time. I don't need to pump the volume.
I like to pump the volume. but it's nice that you don't have to. Yeah, they
You
do
got a
get
little tinnitus.
lotta. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think the headphones, we've got lots of options on that front. We actually have new earbuds that plug in with a dongle that you could use for any kind of on-the-go situation. So people just prefer earbuds over ear headphones. So those just came out, the new Cetra True wireless. I don't know if they have, I don't know the actual full title now that I think about that product.
That sounded pretty right.
Cool. Well, as always, guys, this is just one segment of our show where we jump in on Twitch and YouTube every week. We go through gaming news. We talk about the best deals that you can get, and we give away prizes live on stream every week. So if you want to check that out, we are live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.